stripped of everything.
Commanded his followers to rape. He was doing that as the best example. When he commanded his followers to take slaves, he was doing that as the best example. When he commanded a mother to be ripped in two by camels, he did that as the best example. When he commanded his followers to have sex with their slaves, he did that as the best example. Christians have a difference in our faith to Islam. The Old Testament does not apply in its fullness today. There is a new covenant, and Muslims would do better to criticize our faith based upon what it actually teaches. Why am I lying?
Why are you talking like that for, when clearly the God of the Old Testament
What am I lying about?
The God of the New Testament is the same.
Does the God of the Old Testament say there'll be a new covenant?
He said utterly destroy, and you talk about male
I
and
asked
female
you a
slaves,
question.
Yeah? Bondmates. Yeah?
I asked you a question.
Leviticus 25:44.
Notice he doesn't want to answer the question.
What about the bondmates?
Notice he doesn't want to
Leviticus
answer the question.
25:44.
I'll ask you
What
again.
about the bondmates?
You're saying that I lied.
Yes.
Right. Am I lying about the idea that there is a new and an old covenant?
No, you're lying about Islam. Bob.
Are you saying that Christ doesn't establish a new covenant?
Bob, you're lying about Islam.
So I'm not lying about my own faith then?
Christ said that he's going to
So I'm not lying about my own faith then?
Bob,
Answer the question.
Bob,
Am I lying?
Yes, you
Answer
are.
the question.
You are lying.
Listen to the
You're lying on
question.
both of
He
them.
doesn't even know. Right.
Bob, you're lying on both.
So
You know
let
why?
me just prove him
You
wrong.
know why?
Let me just prove him wrong.
Because God
He has
said,
just
Jesus
said, he has
came to
just
fulfill.
said
He came
that
to fulfill
the
commandments.
Christian faith
Not to
does
change
not
one jot.
teach
But now
a
you're
new
thinking with
covenant.
Now
That
you're
is what
changing.
he said.
You're changing it though.
That
You're
is
saying
what
that
he
never
said.
came to change.
Listen
But
to
you're
this.
changing.
So now let us compare the claim of the Taoist in his ignorance about the Christian faith when he said that I was lying about the Christian faith in teaching a new covenant, and compare it to the words of Jesus himself. Because the Muslims at the corner work to a script. They never actually pick up a Bible.
So do you,
they
Bob.
never actually
So do you,
study.
Bob.
They never actually learn.
Same
No,
to you, Bob.
this is what Jesus said. Are you listening?
Yes.
This
No,
cup
yes.
which is poured out for you is the new covenant
I can't hear you, Bob.
in my
Louder.
blood.
Louder.
Jesus has just said he has established a new covenant that was promised in the Old Testament. Now, sir, are you willing to retract what you said when you said that I lied about Jesus establishing a new covenant?
Is the new covenant same as the Ten Commandments? Is the new covenant part of the Ten Commandments? Or is it changed from the Ten Commandments?
The Ten Commandments carry over into the new.
So when he says utterly destroy the Amalekites and the donkeys, yeah, it's part of Jesus' teaching as well, isn't it, Bob?
No!
Yes, it is.
Oh, so suddenly a man who didn't even know that Jesus Christ established a new covenant suddenly thinks himself an expert of the Old Testament.
You're not an expert either, Bob.
So, let us be clear. Let us be clear. God says in the Old Testament, this is in Jeremiah, something that my brother here has not bothered to read. This is what God says in the Old Testament. Behold, days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not like the old covenant. Did you hear that bit? No, you didn't, because you're not listening. I'll read it to you again. Not like the old covenant, which I made with their fathers in the day I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt. Who brought them out of the land of Egypt? Moses. Who was the Ten Commandments given to? Moses. So Jeremiah the prophet is saying that Yahweh has said that he will establish a new covenant that is not like the covenant of Moses. So when he appeals to the laws of Moses and tries to say that we Christians need to live by them in the new covenant that I've already demonstrated Jesus established at the night of the Last Supper, he is doing it in ignorance of biblical teaching. Why? Because the Dawah team, the Muslims that do evangelism here in the park, are ignorant of the Christian faith. They only have a script to work from that they hear from their teachers in the mosque. And the moment you show them anything that disproves their script, they have nothing to say. So now let me ask you this question. In Jeremiah, God says through the prophet, I will establish a new covenant, not like the covenant that I made with your fathers when I brought them out of Egypt. Who is God referring to? What covenant is God referring to when he says a new covenant, not like the old covenant? Which is the old covenant? Silence. Exactly as I said. The moment you take them to a text that disproves their script, they have nothing to say.
You haven't disproven nothing.
So I'll ask you again. It says in the text, do a Bible study with me. Behold, days are coming, declares the Lord. So who's speaking? Yahweh. When I will make a new covenant. What did he say? New covenant. What does new mean? New means something new, not something old. Listen carefully. Which I made with their fathers in the day. Sorry, it says, not like the covenant which I made with their fathers in the day I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt. I'll ask you again. The text is clear. There is a new covenant and an old covenant. What is being referred to when it says old covenant? He doesn't know. Why doesn't he know? Because the script that he has learnt in his mosque is not sufficient to deal with the scriptures. That is why he doesn't know.
Exactly. So that's the new covenant. You say the new covenant replaces the old covenant.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. So that means God's old law is being replaced by a new law.
No.
Yes.
A new covenant is replacing an old covenant. Let me explain. Let me explain, because you've already admitted you don't know. Now, if you're here just to argue, you can argue. But if you want to learn, listen, I'll explain the new covenant. The old covenant was made with Israel, a covenant between Yahweh and a particular set of tribes, the Jewish tribes. That covenant was to prove to the surrounding nations that God was real and that he was the only true God. Now, in the new covenant, those that accept Jesus Christ are grafted onto Israel. And this new covenant is designated as a covenant of love, not of law. Christians are commanded to love and to be a people of hope. The old covenant with Israel was defined by three elements of law: moral law, cultural law, and religious law. Only one aspect of that covenant was carried over into the new, the Ten Commandments, which, as he misquoted, do not say, thou shalt not kill. No, it says, thou shalt not murder. And there is a world of difference between murdering and killing. A world of difference. When the British forces When the British forces took up arms against the Nazis, were they murdering or killing? When the IRA took up weapons against the British forces, were they murdering or killing? One of those examples is an example of murder, the IRA. One of those examples is an example of killing. Killing can be justified if the situation is extreme enough. The Old Testament passage that you quoted, where God commanded that a nation be destroyed, was justified because of the threat that that nation faced towards Israel. One last question.
Bob. Right. How many apocryphal accounts are there in the Bible?
Let me just drink my book. Let me just drink a drink of water. I'll take it by the fact that he has changed the topic entirely to another part of his script that he has been dealt with on the earlier part of his script. So, in answer to the question, how many apocryphal books are there in the Bible? Christians do not agree upon how many books there should be in the Bible. We are open about this disagreement. We don't try to hide it. Protestants, Catholics and Orthodox all have different collections of books in their Bible. However, I'm answering your question. However, the Christian faith is not built on the Bible. The Bible is built out of the Christian faith. The fact of the resurrection and Christ's life is the basis of the Christian faith, and it was from that historical event that the New Testament emerged. However, I cannot take a lecture from a Muslim about different books because Muslims disagree about their hadiths. Shia and Sunni Muslims use different hadiths to interpret their Quran.
But one Quran.
And their
We all
Islam.
have one Quran.
No, they don't. That is a lie.
Muslims all have
That
one
is a
Quran.
lie.
Shias and Muslims
That is a
believe
lie.
Allah is one.
That is a
and
lie.
Muhammad is the last prophet.
Which Quran?
That's what they believe.
The Duri
Bob,
Quran,
wait, Bob.
the Hafs
Wait,
Quran,
Bob,
the
wait.
Wash Quran.
I'm going to get to
Which
it.
Quran is the one
Are you
Quran
gonna
you
let me
have?
finish? Are you gonna let me
No,
finish? Can
no,
I finish?
no, I haven't finished.
Okay, no problem.
I haven't
No problem,
finished.
Bob.
So, the Muslims have disagreement about their hadiths. They fight one another about those hadiths. Now he says that all Muslims have one Quran. That is ignorant. There are textual variants between the Hafs and the Wash Quran. There are textual variants between the Duri and the Hafs Quran. There are even textual variants between the most ancient texts of the Quran, the Sinai manuscripts, the Paris Metropolitan in Paris, yeah, the Mahale manuscript that you can find in the British Library. These manuscripts differ from one another. The fact is, they don't have one Quran. They never have had one Quran, and it is a myth amongst Muslims that all their Qurans are the same. And if you don't believe me, I'll give you two books that you can go to buy today in Waterstones to check for yourself.
Big shot.
Book number one, textual variants of Quranic manuscripts by David Brubaker. He gives 20. I'll answer that question, who? David Brubaker is the leading scholar on ancient Quranic manuscripts. He has had access to all nine of the oldest Quranic manuscripts, and he has found textual variants of those earliest manuscripts to the 1924 edition of the 1924 edition of the Quran today. Now, I'll be honest, the second book, the author has escaped my memory, so I'll have to look it up.
Can I say something now, Bob?
Yeah, go for it.
Without you interrupting, yeah?
You mean like you interrupted me, but go on.
Yeah, okay. He wants to talk about textual variants, 1924. If you go to 1923, you'll see it's the same, so he's talking rubbish. Yeah? So let's see the textual variants, yeah? Is it the same as the Bible? Let's go into it.
I thought we were talking about how many Qurans there are.
He's changed it.
Yeah, no, we're talking about Qurans as well, yeah? I've just answered it.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
You've only just started speaking.
The Quran
How could you have answered it when you've only just started talking?
Sorry, the Quran is just one. You might have different ways of pronouncing it, but every Muslim understands it the same. It's not the same as the Bible, and I'll give you a clear example on the Bible, right? In the Bible, John 1:18, it has the word the only begotten Son, right? And you got 13 Bibles that use the word the only begotten Son. The Berean Literal Bible, New International Standard Bible, Aramaic Bible, New American Standard, Jubilee, King James 2000, American King James, and the list goes on to 13 Bibles that use the word begotten. There are 11 Bibles that don't use the word begotten. Yeah? Is that the same as that? No, it's not. In the Quran, you'll have a little, difference on the way pronunciation. But the meaning is the same for the Muslims. Every Muslim understands it the same. It's not the same as the Bible when in the New International Version or the Living Translation, English Standard Version, Berean Studies, Holmes, International BT Bible, they don't have the word begotten. Yeah? 13 Bibles that have the word begotten, 11 Bibles don't. They have 450 Bibles that vary, and they're all in English, and they're all different translations. They're versions, translation versions. We have one Arabic, but many English translations. They have many Bibles in versions. That's the difference, Bob. Go right ahead.
Okay, so you all heard what he said. There's some translations that have the word begotten, and there are other translations that do not have the word begotten. Now, he is confusing a number of different things. Different words with different translations of the same word. Now, I would ask you, ladies and gentlemen, when you're translating from one language to another, there are different methods of translation.
It's in English, Bob.
Stop interrupting.
I apologize.
Thank you. So, there are different methods of translation. You have the methodology of dynamic equivalence, which is you translate thought for thought. You have the translation methodology of literal word equivalence. That is where you translate word for word. The brother is simply confusing the two methodologies. He is simply confusing the fact that some translations go for thought and some go for word. Now, let us go back to his Qurans. I would ask you, ladies and gentlemen, do a thought experiment with me. I'd ask you, is a plural the same as a singular? If I say the word tree, is it the same as the word trees? No, it is not. A plural is different word from a singular. These are the kinds of examples we find in the textual variants of the Quran. Some versions of the Quran will use singulars. Other versions of the Quran referring to the same verse, will take those singulars and make them into plurals. Let me ask you this question. This is an example commonly known for the regulars in the park. Many of you won't know it, but take my word for it, it is regularly debated here. In the Warsh Quran, talking of a particular verse, it says that Allah is the owner of all things. In the Hafs Quran, it says Allah is the king of all things. Are the words king and owner the same? No. Yes, they can have some overlap in terms of their implication, but it is not the case that every king is an owner, and it is not the case that every owner is a king. You are all owners of something here, but you are not all kings. The Queen is an owner, but she is also a monarch. So one Quran, supposedly, has two different words. One says owner, one says king, one says singular, one says plural. That is the very definition of a textual variant, and you will not find a single academic who understands textual variants that would argue anything different. And if you have different texts, you have different Qurans.
You finished, Bob?
Yes.
All right, now, Bob is talking about Quran that is translated in English. Can you bring it in Arabic and read it in Arabic and show us the difference? Because we've got Arabic speakers here who can tell you the difference and show us the difference, and we will correct you. Now, he wants to talk about variance. Right, in Luke 7:24, in English, it says, and the messenger of John were departed. If you go to the original Greek, it uses the word, if you go to the Greek Testament manuscript, it uses the word angelos. What does angelos mean, my Greek friend?
Angelos.
Angelos.
Means angel.
Angels, thank you very much. Now, why does in your Bible, use the word messenger? Are angels
Angel
and
means
messengers,
messenger.
are angels
Angel
and
means
messengers the
messenger.
same? Are angels and messengers, are they the same?
Yes.
Are they the same?
Yes, they're
Are
the same.
angels
Yes.
and messengers,
Yes.
are they the same?
Yes.
No.
He's a Hebrew speaker.
An angel is a malach in Hebrew, and a messenger is a malach as well.
Yeah, an angel means messenger.
So you're telling me
You didn't know what you were talking about. Because it's not on the script, you see.
with the message.
It's not on the script.
Yeah, it came with the message. Yeah? John were to depart. That was the message, yeah?
In fact, it calls
That's
John an
the
angel.
difference between theirs and ours. Ours is he will go into semantic where it's English translation, and one translator will translate it this way, another translator will translate it
Got
this
the
way.
Arabic here.
Because the miracle of
Gonna show him he's
Arabic
wrong.
is that one Arabic word can have many different meanings. It's
not true.
up to the scholars
Got the
how
Arabic
they
right here.
translate it. Now him,
Good.
he wants to go to English, and that's it. But when you go to their Bibles, like I said, you have 450 Bibles, and they all vary. Some have the word begotten, some don't have the word begotten. Yeah, and then what? No answers for it. He wants to go into semantics. Go right ahead, Bob.
Right. So he used the example of angelos in the Greek. The Greek is using a word equivalence. It is a translation of a Hebrew. And they use the word that means the same. Angel in Hebrew means messenger. The translation into Greek is conveying the same meaning. No, the whole argument made by my unlearned friend here is that because there are textual variants in the Bible can't be trusted, and because the Bible can't be trusted, our faith doesn't work.
Thank you, Bob.
That's his
it.
argument.
That's it, Bob. Thank you.
That is his argument. However, it is flawed from beginning to end.
So you say, Bob.
Why? Why is it flawed? Because The Apostle Paul wrote that if Christ was not risen from the dead, our faith would be in vain. In other words, as a Christian, my faith is based upon the historical reality of Jesus rising from the dead, not upon whether there are textual variants in the Bible. That is the correct understanding of the Christian faith.
Jesus, he was a Jew.
He is taking an Islamic understanding of Islam and superimposing that understanding onto Christianity as if it was a perfect fit. In other words, he's getting a circle peg and driving it into a square hole. It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. Now, let us go to his Quran. Let us go to his Quran. So, you said you're an Arabic speaker. Okay. What does, my pronunciation may be off because I am not an Arabic speaker.
I am an Arabic.
Listen, what does the word kitalu mean? Kitalu.
Sorry? What?
Come here.
What?
What does that word mean? What does that word mean? Kitalu, that's the transliteration of the Arabic. What does it mean? What does it mean?
Why you
Do you know what it means?
Yeah, I know
What does it mean?
No, but I don't know.
Can I have a look?
Right, so the Arabic speaker, when confronted with the transliteration of the Arabic, suddenly doesn't know what it means.
What's the sentence?
No, let's be clear. Let's be clear. Let's be clear.
Say it.
We've already checked these with Christian Arabic speakers. The translations are correct.
That's all I can say.
They are correct.
Say it again.
Now, in the Hafs version of the Quran,
The language of
in a particular passage,
I'm shooting.
it uses the word
Of heaven.
kitulu, kutilu, kutilu, kutilu.
You know, in Arabic.
Killed. Did you hear that? Killed. And that is what the Christian translator translated the word as. So thank you for verifying.
Give us the whole
Thank
sentence.
you. Notice the heckling.
Give us the whole
Notice
sentence.
the
Don't
heckling.
give me one word. Give me the whole sentence.
Were they heckling when the Muslim was speaking?
Hey, give me the whole
No.
sentence.
Do you want to hear me speak or the hecklers?
No, give me the whole sentence.
I'll wait for the hecklers to stop.
Okay, but
Quran says never kill anybody.
Sister, I'm talking with him. Kindly be patient. No,
I can't translate.
the sister, and you all saw it, and you caught it on camera. She confirmed that our Christian translators had translated the word correctly. And she's a Muslim, and she did that without any prompting from me. Now, the Hafs version of the Quran uses the word kutilu. The Warsh version of the Quran, let's see if your Arabic's still any good. Katalu. What does that mean?
Tell means those who
Fought. Fight. Thank you. Once again, she has confirmed the translation by the Christians. Brother, come here.
I haven't
Brother,
confirmed anything.
at the very top of your voice, as if you're shouting
I
to those
haven't
two gentlemen
confirmed
over there,
anything.
just confirm how our Christian translators translated the word kutalu and the word katalu. Loudly, so everyone can hear.
It's على كلمة واحدة. Give us the whole sentence. Don't give us just words.
Shout it so everyone can hear you.
Quitalu
Louder.
were killed.
Thank you. And Katulu.
Katalu, they fought.
So, he has just read it independently of me. She has confirmed it independently of me. No, let me ask. Let me ask. Notice the hecklers. They're all sparked. They're all triggered. They're all triggered. Why are they triggered? Why are they triggered? Why are they triggered?
You know, you're Christians.
Triggered, 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 triggered. Why are they triggered?
Christianity is a joke.
I'm not going to stop until I get to finish my point. Right, triggered,
You need to be cuckoo.
triggered.
Something here in the head.
So,
Christianity.
the Hafs Quran reads the words like this, because the brother asked for the context. And the ones who have been killed in the way of Allah, then He will never send their deeds into error.
What's 23 compared to 450?
The worst Quran
450
translates
Bibles. Defend that.
the same
It's the
passage
same with your Bible.
this way.
The
He
Quran
wasn't
and
listening.
The Bible as brothers
And those who fought in the way of Allah, then He will never send their deeds into error. The same verse in two different Qurans, using two different words. Different Qurans, case closed. Your reply.
Okay, thank you very much, Bob. Right, the word you
Thank
just
you, you've been a
quoted,
great help.
the word you just got translated
you,
for
sir. You've
was
been a
just a
brilliant
word. Bob, she only translated one or two words, not the whole sentence, so we don't know what's going on with the whole sentence. And the other thing, Bob, before I go, because it's just too much here, I don't know how you do it. I rate you for doing this, because I lose my train of thought with all this shouting. I can't concentrate. So Bob, before I go, I respect you for everything you do. No problem.
Have a great day,
but
man. No animosity.
can you read just one verse for me from your Bible?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about it.
Acts 1:3. If you could just read Acts 1:3, and I think that'll be it.
Are you going to give commentary, or are you going to let me give commentary?
You can give commentary if you want, but I just want you to read it loud and clear.
Yep.
So everybody can hear. With a sound mind and intellect, pick it up. Please pick it up. Listen to it.
Acts 1:3.
Yes, please.
Sister, you've been such a great help to me. Can I buy you a tea after this? I really want to buy you a tea. Without you, I couldn't have proved that point so beautifully. Without you, I could not have proved that point so
You didn't
beautifully.
prove nothing.
You weren't even paying attention. You weren't even paying
Nothing was
attention.
only for the Christians.
So,
It's fine.
notice. Have you finished your point?
I'm finished. I just want him to read the
Okay.
Acts 1:3, and that's it.
Notice, we're changing the subject to another part of the script. Bear that in mind. Acts 1:3.
Let's go.
Listen. And then you said I'll give commentary, right?
You can give commentary if you want.
Okay.
But listen carefully.
Okay, my friend, you're
Everyone
holding
listen
your holy
carefully.
book,
To the...
which is full of mistakes.
When you're ready.
Which is full of mistakes. Your Bible is full
Okay.
of mistakes.
And then I'm giving
Very
commentary.
bad mistakes.
Okay.
Yes.
To these he also presented himself alive after his suffering, by many convincing proofs, appearing to them over a period of 40 days, and speaking of the things concerning the kingdom of God.
Thank you, Bob. Amen. Thank you very
Now let me give the commentary.
Catch it later, Mr. Brown.
You take care.
much. That was it.
When are you going to become a Christian?
That was it.
When are you going to become a Christian?
You don't know it. It's
So,
Commentary later.
let me give this commentary. Let me give this commentary. And then if you, after I've given this commentary, then we'll talk. And then I want to buy you a tea, because you've been great. So, honestly, without this sister, I wouldn't have been able to prove that point so brilliantly.
No, but I have just
She
translated
confirmed-
2 words. I
Thank
didn't
you.
confirm
She
anything.
confirmed,
That's all we need.
she confirmed the textual variant in the Arabic
No, I didn't.
without knowing how our Christian translators had translated it, and they matched perfectly.
Why don't you give
They
me the
matched
full version?
perfectly. Now, so coming back to this passage, Christ appeared for 40 days, convincing his apostles that he had risen from the dead. Because it is that fact, ladies and gentlemen, that my faith stands or falls, not textual variants. And the reason for that is if you read the New Testament carefully, it is clearly talking about an event retrospectively. It is talking about an event after the fact. In other words, the fact precedes the literature, not the literature precedes the belief. They are two different directions of travel. So textual variants, whilst they are complicated, whilst they are difficult, whilst they are something that we as Christians should take seriously, handle with care, and deal with intelligently, they do not damage the faith we hold. By contrast, the Quran is said to be literally the words of Allah, literally the message of Allah. And the Quran is supposedly perfectly preserved, dot for dot, letter for letter, word for word. And as this wonderful sister has just helped me demonstrate, that is a lie, because there are different Qurans having different words that impact the local meaning of the passages to which they are variants of.
In that passage, it says those who were killed in the way of Allah
And those who fought.
Those who fought.
Is
And
everyone
this-
who fought? Okay, go on. I'll let you speak and then
in
I'll...
Islam, there are things called Ihda al-Husnayn. So, in Islam, when Muslims fight, either they are victorious or they are martyrs. So, in the end, whether they fought and were victorious or whether they were killed in the way of Allah, then their deeds will not go to error.
Let me ask you this question. If you said to a police officer, I've just seen two people fighting,
Yes.
is that the same as saying I've just seen two people killed?
No.
No. So they are different words then, are they not?
But they impact the same
No,
meaning.
no, they don't. Because you've just said they don't. If you go to that police officer
Yes.
and say, I've just seen two people fighting,
Yes.
is that the same as saying two people killed?
No.
No. So they
Okay.
do impact the meaning, do they not?
Yes, but you
Thank you.
have to bring it in context.
Right.
Because
Let's look at it in context.
the
Let's look at it in
Okay,
context.
okay.
You talked about jihad.
yes.
Right. Is everyone who fights in the cause of Allah but does not die a martyr?
No.
Do martyrs receive a special reward?
Yes.
Does someone who dies of a natural death without fighting in the way of Allah receive the same reward as a martyr?
It depends
Yeah,
on
they
the
can.
way he
They
yes,
can.
They can.
Go on.
If they die in a fire, if they die by drowning. Yes.
Okay.
And
So
Killed
let's
by someone else.
okay, fine. If they die of a heart attack,
yeah.
do they receive the reward as a martyr?
No.
Even if they fought in the way of Allah?
Do they
Yeah, they
have
could.
it in your religion?
Even it,
Do
no.
they have it your
In this
religion?
example,
Do they go to-
one question at a time, sister. I'm dealing with this bros in misconceptions.
Okay.
Do they, if someone fights in the way of Allah when they're in their 20s,
Yes.
they survive,
Yes.
they live to a ripe old age, have
Yes.
many grandchildren, and then
Yes.
just die of a stroke?
Yes.
Do they receive the martyr's reward of those people that were fighting alongside him and died as martyrs?
They could.
They could, but not necessarily.
Yes. Not
Does a martyr always receive his reward?
if he fought in the way of Allah. Yes. He did.
Right, so not only then do we have two different words, but it also has implications to what those people get as a reward.
Yes.
Because not everyone who fights in the way of Allah will receive a martyr's reward.
Yes.
So
But
if
they will
someone
all
is,
receive reward.
so if someone is, hold on,
Because
because,
maybe he did other
well,
sins
excuse
that
me,
they
sister,
are.
please stop being
I'm
rude.
asking your question.
Oh,
Then
actually-
wait until I've dealt with
Actually,
his
this
argument.
person who's not a martyr, who dies of a natural cause, he can get a higher reward than a martyr because he had longer to live.
Right, so can, could be,
Yes.
possibly,
Yes.
but also cannot, possibly not, could not.
Yes.
In other words, the difference in word has a different meaning. A
But this-
promise is given
Yes.
to those who are killed
And those
in
who
one Quran,
Yes.
but that same promise is given to those who fought in a different Quran.
Yes.
But your later beliefs, the ones that came after the Qurans were written, say that there's a distinction between those who die in the way of Allah and those who simply fight in the way of Allah. One is given the assurance of a gift and the other is not.
No, they're given the assurance of a gift, but perhaps not the
So,
same gift.
so
as
it's
the one-
not the same then, is it?
The subject in that verse is that their deeds will not go to error.
Their deeds will not go to
Yes.
error.
So whether they fought or they were martyred,
But their martyrdom makes a difference, doesn't it?
but both of their deeds will not go to error. That's the subject.
So that means that a martyr has no special reward comparatively to those that fought.
They do, but it's not in
Ah,
this verse.
they do. Exactly my point. So the word killed does have a different meaning with a different implication, doesn't it?
The subject in that's from that you're bringing it out of context. In that verse,
I've just put it back into context.
in that verse,
I've
it's
used
saying,
your context.
in that verse, it's saying that their deeds will not go to error, whether they fought or they were killed.
But those who die in the way of Allah receive a guarantee that those who fight in the way of Allah do not. Is that correct?
Yes.
There you go. So it is important whether you're someone who's killed or someone who's fought. Correct?
Yes.
So when one Quran says killed and another Quran says fought, they're actually talking about two different categories of people. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right. If they are talking about two different categories of people, then we have, by every definition of the word, a textual variant between two different Qurans. And if we have a textual variant between two different Qurans, you have two different Qurans, not one.
Is it the same word in Arabic?
We've already done this, sir. You arrived late.
Catch me up, it'd be nice.
Just so you know, just so you know, we had an Arabic speaker, and I have witnesses. Put your hand up if you witnessed the Arabic speaker confirm, right? We had an Arabic speaker independently confirm the translation that we were given by Christian Arabs. And she did it without seeing the translation. She just heard the word and translated it identically to how the Christians had translated it. So we had two different Arabic speakers confirming the exact same translations. Those translations were different. Now we're discussing the implications, and we see that the implications are also different. Are we in dispute that there are two different words? No. Are we in dispute that those who die in the way of Allah have a guarantee that those who fought in the way of Allah do not?
No.
Right, so we are in agreement then that we're talking
But
about...
they both have guarantees.
1 second. We're talking about two different categories of people, are we not?
Yes.
So we are talking about two different Qurans. Thank you.
No, not two different. There's only one Quran, but it's different.
Amazing. It doesn't matter how many times you say there's only one Quran. If one Quran has different words to another Quran, and those words mean different things, talking about different kinds of people, you don't have one Quran. You have two Qurans. So which Quran did Muhammad give? The wash or the Hafs?
He was given it on 7 verses. He was given the Quran on 7 verses. Because he was
So Muhammad gave 7 Qurans.
he was not, he didn't give, he was given.
He was given 7 Qurans.
No, not 7 Quran. The Quran on 7 verses.
The Quran on
Because-
7 verses.
Because he was sent to the Arabs, especially, and to all of the people. Yes. So they
No, they are verses,
they
and they're
spoke
different.
they spoke different. I wouldn't say languages.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah.
But if you gave them one of the Qurans, they wouldn't understand it fully.
Bro, you are a massively pleasant guy. And it is a real pleasure to speak to you, honestly. Like, in comparison to the regulars here at the park, you have civility, and you're coherent, and you're following logic.
Yes.
But please, follow your own logic to its final conclusion.
Yes.
If you agree with premise A, that we have different words, and if you agree that we have with premise B, that those different words are talking about two different categories of people,
Yes.
and if you agree with premise C, that two different categories of people cannot be the same people,
Yes.
then follow that through to the conclusion. You have two different Qurans. They're not massively different. It still teaches Tawheed. It still teaches the 5 pillars of Islam. It still teaches that there's only one God and that Muhammad is his prophet. I'm not trying to say that these textual variants mean that the Qurans are massively unreliable in everything that they actually say.
Yes.
I'll even go so far as to say
Yes.
that as a preserved text, the Quran is one of the purest preserved texts in the world. I'll give you that.
Okay.
But that is a qualitative, not quantitative definition. In other words, I am saying to you, it is not perfectly preserved. Its perfect preservation is not there. You have two different Qurans, slightly different, marginally different, marginally, but not the same, which means that the only dogma that you need to abandon is the dogma that the Quran was preserved by Allah. That's the only one you need to get rid of.
Okay, let's go to another verse.
We've already done this, sir. You're too late. I know. I'll come back. Then let me finish my conversation with them. I'll come back to you.
Yes, I do.
You were here when we heard the translation. Do you agree with me that an Arabic speaker independently, without seeing the translation,
Yes.
confirmed the very translation we had from Christian Arabs?
Yes.
You all heard that. He said yes. He witnessed it himself. Put your hand up if you also witnessed the same thing. All of these people witnessed it.
Why always
You
talking
are
about
talking
negative?
about something
Why do you
academic.
never talk about the covenant that our Prophet Muhammad that he gave to the Christians, or the hadiths that have great punishment to those who harm a Christian or anyone under the protection?
So let me address this question. Because you're moving off the topic, but because you're young and because you're so nice, I'll just go with you. All right? But the fact of the matter is, the thing that you need to take home at the end of the day is that you have been sold a lie in the masjid. You've been told a lie that all Qurans are the same. You've seen it evidenced here today. You need to now go away and think through what are the implications of the fact that you have just witnessed with your own eyes two different Qurans in front of you. Now, going to your next question, why am I talking about this and not all the nice things that Muhammad says about Christians?
Exactly.
Right, I'll address that point for multiple reasons. Firstly, I don't know if you were here at the beginning of the conversation, but this whole conversation started when a Muslim approached me to attack the Bible.
Well, that's wrong.
Right, hold on, 1 second.
Yes.
You're asking why am I talking about this?
Yes.
We got talking about this. I was going to talk about something else today. A Muslim came to me and attacked my Bible,
Yes.
and I simply defended my Bible, and then he changed the topic onto textual variants. Not me. He was the one that brought it up, not me. And I think that if you establish a principle by which you judge other people's religions, it's only fair that people take that same principle and beat you over the head with it.
Exactly.
So in other words, if you say, I can't believe the Bible because it's got textual variants, well, be consistent. If there are textual variants in the Quran, stop believing in the Quran. Now, let me finish.
Exactly.
Let me finish.
What?
Let me finish. Now, you said, why don't I talk about all the nice things that Muhammad said about Christians?
Not said. Covenant.
Muslims,
Yes.
the regulars in the park. I'm not saying you particularly,
Yes.
and I'm sure there's many in the audience that are maybe visitors here today and you've never done this. But the regular Muslims in the park go around the park consistently attacking the Christian faith.
But they're not.
1 second.
The Muslims.
Well, go and tell them that.
We are
1 second, no, 1 second, because I've watched the
We
Dawah
are
channel.
saying
1
this
second,
to them.
1 second. I've watched the Dawah channels that operate here at the park. I've never seen any Muslim go up to the Muslim regulars and say, why do you keep attacking the Christian faith?
I did.
Right, well, go and do it now then. You go and do it, you go and do it, and you go and do it. Don't come to me and say, why are you attacking Islam, when the Muslims are consistently attacking the Christian faith. If you, 1 second, if you establish a principle, i.e. you can attack my religion, I'm entitled to pick that principle up and beat you over the head with it. In other words, if Muslims can attack Christianity in the park, I can attack Islam in the park. And if you don't like it, go and preach to the Muslims, not to me.
Okay. Bob, the Quran categorically prevents us from doing that exact same thing that you just said.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Do you want to take that back while you've got chance?
Okay. No. Do you have the Quran with you?
Yes, of course I got a translation of the Quran. Look, bro, you're a good man.
Okay.
You're a good man. No, I'm not handing you my Quran.
Can I just understand something?
And okay.
Let me
You
just.
think that the Arabic Quran
Let me-
is different from
Yeah,
another Arabic
yeah,
Quran?
and we just confirmed that independently.
No. So if I
Okay.
get my Quran at home and show it to you,
Okay, chapter-
and he gets his Quran from home and shows it to you, you're going to show us a difference.
I'm telling you, if you get your Quran from your home and yours is a wash Quran, and he gets his Quran from his home, and his is an Hafs Quran, there are different. Yeah, they're in Arabic. Yes, sir, they're in Arabic. They are different. No, forgive me, but I've already had this conversation in depth. In depth. I'm sorry, but we've already proven that wrong. We've already proven that wrong. We've already proven that wrong. Brother, I'm sorry, but you're late to this conversation, and I literally just spent 40 minutes proving you wrong. Forgive me for not doing it again. No, I'm talking about the Arabic, sir, and he was here. He saw it.
Okay.
Ask him.
What did he show you? No, والذين قتلوا في سبيل الله.
And in the other one?
والذين قاتلوا.
Qatalu. And Qutlu and Qatalu, are they the same?
No.
Are they the same?
Were they in the, no, of course they're not.
Thank you. There you go. They're not the same. Everyone agrees they're not the same. And then in the next breath, all the Muslims are saying all the Qurans are the same. You can't have it both ways. They're either different words or they're not. If they're different words, you have different Qurans. If they're not different words, you have the same Quran. You don't have Qurans with all the same words, so you don't have the same Quran. It's just logical. I know that logic and that evidence contradicts every lie you've been told in the masjid. I know that logic and that evidence contradicts every Muslim speaker that lied to you. But they are lying because they have been told a lie. Okay. You have been told a lie about your Quran. They are not the same. There are different Qurans. The belief that the Quran was perfectly preserved is a falsity.
Every worse Quran.
So, what?
Every worse Quran the same.
No.
So if you get two different worse Qurans, they still have different.
We've already done that as well, sir. Yes, there are differences there as well.
So let's recap.
You know the two
So,
words, are they written different?
now, brother, you wanted to talk about the fact.
We're moving on to the next point.
Right.
Do you think he is here to be convinced by you? He is here.
I know very well.
Go on, what do you know very well, sir?
I know very well that you're staunch in your beliefs.
Yes.
He already proved you wrong before, so now I don't know why you're repeating it. He already proved that you.
He didn't say anything. Right, so put this guy on camera. Right, this guy on camera. Right, this is the guy that when I said the words in Arabic, he went, oh, and I actually, one second, I showed him the transliteration, and he went, oh, I don't know. Then hold on. Then I said the word verbally, and an Arabic woman recognized the word and translated it identically to our translation. He did nothing.
I can bring the woman.
He did nothing.
I translate for you.
He did nothing. He did nothing. And this is the
your
problem, ladies and gentlemen. This is the problem. And I understand why Muslims desperately want to cling on to the idea that all Qurans are the same. Because if they deal with the evidence, they would have to abandon Islam. And I openly invite you, sir, to abandon Islam. I invite you, sir, to abandon Islam. I invite you, sir, to abandon Islam. Because your religion is based on a lie, and you don't need to believe a lie when there is a better belief system that you can hold on to. A better one. Now, let's go back to what you wanted to move the conversation on to. You're saying...
like you know where the verse is.
Yeah, of course I do. You're saying that the Quran doesn't command Muslims to do bad things to Christians. Is that correct?
It prevents them from even insulting their beliefs.
Right, okay. Now, that's your statement. You're happy with it?
Yes.
Is there anything you want to add?
If you could pass me the Quran so I could read the verse.
You tell me where you want to go and I'll go to it.
Chapter 6, verse 108.
Chapter 6, verse 108. Do you want to read it while I hold it, or do you want me to read it for you?
No, I'll read it.
Come here. Go on.
Revile not ye those whom they call upon besides Allah. So anyone, lest they out of spite revile Allah in their ignorance.
Keep going.
Thus have we made alluring to each people its own doings. In the end will they return to their Lord, and we shall then tell them the truth of all that they did.
Okay, and what do you get that from that?
I get from that the Quran prevents us severely and makes it a sin to revile or insult those who believe in other than Allah.
Okay, right. So, your statement that Muslims have been commanded to do no bad thing towards Christians.
No, not in there. Towards any person.
Towards any person.
But
Towards any person.
But here to not insult.
Okay, so allow me
people's beliefs.
Allow me to address that point. He says that the Quran says don't insult other people's beliefs.
Yes.
You need to now take your little sermon and go and speak to the likes of Mansour and Hashim, and go and speak to the likes of Shamsi, and go and speak to the likes of all the Muslim regulars here who regularly insult Christians for their beliefs. And all of you Muslims who agree with him,
they debate.
well, all of those Muslims. Right.
They debate.
So when we debate Muslims,
they don't insult.
so when we debate Muslims about their beliefs, we're insulting.
No, you can't
but
debate.
when Muslims
No,
debate
you're allowed to
Christians
debate.
about our beliefs,
You're allowed to
they're
debate.
debating.
You are allowed
Yes,
to
sir,
debate.
of course.
You are
Anyway,
allowed to debate.
coming
anyone
back to your point.
No.
Coming back to
go
your
around.
point.
You
Coming
don't
back to
go
your
around.
point. Coming back to
That's
your
good
point.
because he doesn't know, and
You seem like a good man.
I don't know. I don't know.
You seem like a good man. You seem like a
Yes,
good man.
because you want to
You
brainwash
seem
him.
like a good man.
Get in line,
right?
sir.
But the point of the matter is,
What
your
I'm-
statement,
okay.
your statement does not correspond with 1400 years of Christian experience. Let me tell you as a Christian,
Yes.
my history
Yes.
at the hands of Muslims.
Yes.
You invaded our lands, you desecrated our churches,
You
you martyred, you martyred,
live.
let me finish,
brother.
let me finish.
We
Let
categorically
me finish.
were warned
Let me
against them.
finish.
Let him finish.
You confiscated our churches. You martyred our bishops. You martyred our believers. You martyred our proselytizers. You martyred those who wish to accept the Christian faith from Islam.
Brother, can I ask?
I haven't finished.
Can I say
I haven't.
something?
Let me finish.
Can
No,
you-
you don't have my
no.
permission. I'm talking to him.
What? You
Let me
don't,
finish.
Who the
Let me
hell are you
finish.
to give me permission?
Let me finish. Let
Who
me
the
finish.
hell are you?
Let
You
me
are not the
finish.
prime minister of this
So,
country.
they did that. Then
Talking
they
about.
subjugated us as a second-class citizen in our own
Brother,
countries.
brother.
Are you listening to me?
No,
or to
no,
him?
no, listen.
Are you having a conversation
Ask
with me or him?
ask
Okay, he
him,
doesn't want to talk to me
Ask
no more.
him.
So,
ask him
they
about
then
what about the
subjected
crusade?
us-
What about the
They then
crusade?
subjected
What
us.
about the crusade?
They then
What about the
subjected
crusade?
us
What about the crusade?
to Dimitri.
You murder Muslims and
Dimitri
Christians, Jews.
was
in the
to make
crusade.
Christians
in the 10th century.
second-class citizens
No,
in
no,
their
no.
own countries.
No. What about the
In their own
crusade?
countries.
What
That is
about
what
the
Sharia
crusade?
law
What about the
means for
crusade?
us
Go thank your
as
Muslims
Christians.
for that, sir.
What?
And that is
Talk to
why
me. Talk to me.
it is
Talk to
the
me.
basis.
Talk to me.
I will shortly.
What about the
I will
crusade?
shortly.
The crusade.
I will shortly. I'll address that point. I'll
Ah,
address
good.
that point.
By Muslims.
Yeah.
So,
You murder Muslims
That
and
is
Jews
why-
and the Jewish people.
yes, in a minute. I'm dealing with him
Yeah.
first. No, I'm
The
dealing with him
crusade,
first.
the
Just one
Talk
question.
I'm
to me.
dealing with him first.
Good.
Can I ask one question?
Learn some manners.
After.
I'll deal with him first.
Good.
Then I'll take your
Good.
question.
What about the Americans?
So,
Hundreds
No,
of
hold
killed.
on.
Hey,
Hundreds of millions of people
imposed
in the
Sharia
name
law
of Christianity.
on Christians,
Are you finished? Are you finished?
which is why
Are you finished?
every Christian
Now you become a dictator.
that can hear my voice,
Calm down.
every Christian
Read
who
it.
can hear my words,
Yeah. Hallelujah.
it is your moral obligation
Ali
to
Baba.
fight against Sharia law
Oh, good.
and to seek to remove Sharia law wherever it is found,
You will never
even
win.
to
You
Mecca
will
itself.
never win.
How many Native Americans did
No.
you kill?
Can
No.
I?
Native
Hold
Americans
on.
did you
He
kill?
asked
Can I
about
ask
the
you?
Crusades.
What? The
Let me
crusade.
address the
How many
question.
hundreds of millions of
Let me
Native
address the
Americans?
question.
Forget the Crusades.
Be quiet a
How many
minute.
people did
Yes.
you kill in Brazil,
You're gonna hold up?
Argentina,
About Chris-
Colombia,
I'm going to
Mexico,
deal with the Crusades.
Canada, USA?
Quiet 1
How
second.
many millions?
He's being
What-
rude to you.
What did the Native Americans do to
Do you want to
you?
do you want to stop being rude to him?
Christianity?
I'll wait until he stops being rude.
How many
about the
Native Americans
crusade.
did
Oh,
the
I will
Christians
when he
kill?
stops being rude.
How many Native Americans did the Christians kill?
No,
How
no,
many
no.
Native
Forget
Americans
that,
did
man.
Christians
He's
kill?
talking
Why
about
is
Lord
that? Why is
Taylor.
that not important?
Brother,
Why is your life
brother.
not important?
Tell
How many
us.
Aborigines did the
Listen,
Christians
I
kill?
want to
What
ask
do the
you-
Aborigines do to Christians?
friend,
What do the Native Americans do to
Hold on,
Christians?
hold on,
See, you
brother.
will not answer those questions.
My
Case
friend,
closed.
I want to
Now
ask.
notice he walks away before I have the chance to answer his
All right,
question.
Can I ask you a question and you
1
answer
second,
me?
bro. You've already asked a
haven't.
question. You asked about the Crusades.
Yes.
Well, what can
Who
we do?
heard him ask about the Crusades?
That was
Who wants to actually hear the answer?
Yes, I do.
Speak up! Who wants to hear the answer? Louder, he can't hear you. Who wants him to shut up?
He will not answer that question.
Quiet,
Walk
sir.
away.
Quiet,
Answer
sir.
that question. How many Native Americans were
Talk
killed
about the
by
crusade.
I will when he
Christianity?
shuts up.
Then if you're not going to answer the question, I'll walk away.
I'll wait for him. I'll answer his
It
question
just shows
first.
you
Talk about the
what
crusade.
Christianity, how
Say-
it was, how it was.
Do you want to hear my answer?
Talk about the crusade.
I'm waiting for him to walk away.
I'm quiet.
Okay.
You won't answer the question.
Notice he's walking away before I have the chance to answer the question.
Forget about him.
So, yeah, let's talk about the Crusades. Let's deal with his crusade and then I'll talk about him.
Americans due to Christianity.
So the Crusades, ladies and gentlemen, the Crusades were a response to 7 centuries of Islamic aggression.
That was
Before,
before that,
no,
you stupid.
no.
That was before Spain.
Before! No, he doesn't know
In
his
the
history.
10th century.
When did Muslims invade Spain?
Listen,
When?
Listen.
In the 7th
In the
century.
7th century.
When was the first crusade launched?
In the 10th century.
11th century.
No, 10.
11.
No, you don't know.
You don't know your
No.
history.
Which,
The
hold on. What is the name?
1052
What is the name of
is
the
the
Pope?
11th century.
What is the name of
Pope
the Pope?
Urban II.
Thank you.
Thank
Tell
you.
them, tell them.
And he preached in Clermont, France, in the 11th century.
What did
He
he say?
doesn't know his
What
history.
did he say? What did he say?
By that time,
What did he say?
Muslims had invaded the following Christian lands in
Look at
the
how it's
7th
changing.
century.
Look how it's changing.
Are you ready for the list?
What did the Pope say?
They invaded
What did the Pope
Christian
say?
Syria.
Excuse me.
They invaded
What did the Pope
Christian
say to the
Lebanon.
Christian? What did
They
the Pope say?
invaded Christian
You are
Palestine.
very
They
arrogant
invaded
man.
Christian
Very arrogant,
Egypt.
very
They
arrogant.
invaded
Well, record
Christian
this, record
Algeria.
You are
They
very
invaded
arrogant.
Christian Morocco.
Very good.
They invaded
No, they
Christian
didn't.
Armenia.
No.
They invaded
No.
Christian
No, no.
Georgia.
What did the
They
Pope
invaded
say?
Christian Turkey. They invaded
Calm down,
Christian
calm down,
Spain.
calm down.
They invaded Christian France.
What?
They invaded Christian Sicily.
What did the Pope
They
say?
invaded Christian Italy.
Tell me.
They invaded Christian Greece. And they did it all before the First Crusade.
Well, England
How
invaded the
many
whole
lands?
Africa. England
How many
invaded the whole
lands?
Africa.
Must
They were in Egypt for
Christians
72
allow
years.
Muslims to
What are you talking
invade
about?
before they
Talking
defend
about,
themselves?
What are you talking about?
Answer the question.
No, listen.
How many lands?
Listen, wait.
Answer my question.
I understand what
I
you're
asked.
saying.
I answered your question.
understand.
Answer
I
mine.
will answer you. I will answer
Now
you.
answer my question.
What did the...
No, my question is this.
You
You're
haven't
no,
answered mine.
I have.
You haven't.
You are going to answer my
What did
question
the
now.
Pope say?
My question to you now.
Why don't answer mine?
I have answered your
No,
question.
you haven't.
What did I say about the Crusades?
What did the Pope...
He wasn't even
Listen,
listening.
listen, he won't
He was
shut
too
up.
busy
He
shouting.
won't shut up.
He was too busy
Listen,
shouting
listen.
because he couldn't
Listen,
shut up.
Listen,
So,
listen.
I will ask someone else.
Yep.
Let me ask you this.
Give him chance. Give us a chance.
Do a thought experiment. I'll give you a chance. Here's
me
your
a chance.
chance. Answer my question.
Why don't you answer
Answer
mine?
my question.
Why don't you answer mine?
Put your hand up if you heard me answer his
put
question.
your hand.
Thank you.
Alibaba.
Right.
Alibaba.
So,
All here, Alibaba. Alibaba.
now, do you want to hear him
You're gonna brainwash
answer
me.
a question?
Don't do that.
No.
Speak up.
To him.
Do you want to hear him answer a question?
I win. I win.
You gotta learn to
I
speak
win.
up.
I win.
Right.
I win.
Here's my question. Okay. So here's my question.
That's it.
Here's my
He's a
question.
good guy.
Guys,
What is your question?
are you listening?
Yeah.
My question is this.
Clean up me.
Yeah, that's it.
I
Try him out.
forgive you. I forgive you.
Thank you, you're very kind.
I'm a Muslim
So,
like you.
What is your question?
I'm not Muslim.
What is your question?
So,
What is your question?
my question is this. Here's the question I'm asking him.
What's your question?
How many lands are Muslims allowed to invade before Christians are permitted to take up the sword and fight back?
Can I answer that?
Yes, of course.
No. The man is telling is Muslim invaded land of a Christian land. Now, in the 10th century, because the Muslim, the empire, the Ottoman Empire, were in the Middle East, and we went all the way to Algeria. Just a minute. Now, the Muslims the sultans and the leaders and so on, as he say, they did go to Spain. And one of the Moroccan leader, one of them, Tariq ibn Ziyad, he's the one who invaded Spain. And the Muslim from Syria, from all over the world, they went all along to Africa, and they went to, he's right. But he never explained, and the Roman come afterwards, and they kick the Muslim out.
Nice to
Are you
meet you.
listening? The Roman afterwards.
Well, you weren't listening to me. Don't lecture.
The Roman afterwards, they
least I'm not
did,
shouting at you.
they did launch a war against the Muslim, and
Thank
they
you.
did
You're a
gain
nice
the land
man.
again.
You have a great
are
day.
are you listening?
You should be a Christian.
Look at this. Look at this.
You don't have any
should be a
knowledge. You
Christian.
don't have any knowledge.
Look at this.
You lose
you,
your...
you listen. And
You practice what you preach,
in
sir.
the
Practice what you
14th
preach.
century, in the 14th century, the Roman come back and then kick the Muslims out of Spain. If you go to Cordoba, Cartagena, Alhambra, and all Muslim architecture, nothing belong to Christianity or the Catholic. Now, hold on. You stole all our books when the Roman won the war. You stole all our books and you translated them. You had nothing at all. You were hungry all over Europe. You were
I'm
starving.
still waiting for an answer to my question.
Hold on. Hold on.
Answer my question.
But when the
I'll
Roman...
remind you what the question was.
This
How
is-
many
I'm
lands
answering.
are Muslims allowed to invade
answering.
before Christians
I'm
are
answering.
permitted to
Hold on.
fight back? That was the question.
I'm answering. And he never explained the Urban II, the Pope in the 11th century, or he said 11, I say 10. He told to the Christian, he told them to go and murder the Muslims and the Jews all over, wherever you find them. Yes or no?
Right, so now let me answer
Yes or
his
no?
question.
Yes or
Now
no?
let me answer his
Answer
question.
yes or no?
Right, ladies and gentlemen,
And you
did
talk about-
anyone actually hear an answer to the question I asked? No, he didn't, did he?
Oh, yeah.
Here's the
How
question
many
I
lands?
asked him.
How many lands?
I'll ask him.
How many
Notice
lands? Hold on.
he demanded
Can
that I
answer
shut
you?
up.
Can I
He
answer?
demanded.
Can I answer?
You had your chance.
Can I answer?
You had your chance.
How many lands the
Notice
British invaded?
he demanded that I shut
How
up.
many lands the French
Notice
invaded?
he demanded
Who
that
started
I
the
shut
First
up.
World War?
But he
Who
can't
started
shut
the
up
Second
now,
World
can
War? What are
he?
you
He
talking
can't
about?
shut up now.
Oh, yeah.
Why? Because his religion has failed him.
Oh, yeah.
It has failed to make him a good man.
Oh, you are a mullah.
No, no.
Oh, you are a mullah. You
Notice
are an
his
imam.
behaviour. Put his behaviour
You
on camera.
see, he memorized
So-
the Holy Quran.
Let's just correct his history. He said that it was the Ottomans that invaded Spain. He doesn't know
I
his
never
history.
see the Ottoman Empire.
It
I
was
never
not
see.
the Ottoman Empire.
I never see that.
It was the.
I
what, sorry?
never see that. I
It
never
was
see that.
exactly at that time
I
there
never
was
see that.
no Ottoman Empire.
I never see that.
It was the Abbasids
I
that
have
invaded
never
Spain,
seen that.
or the Umayyads,
I
or
have
the
never
Umayyads.
seen that. I have
That's
never.
who invaded
Don't put
Spain.
the word in my
They
mouth.
invaded Egypt. They invaded Syria. They invaded Lebanon. They invaded Palestine. They invaded Turkey.
But you
They
invaded
invaded Italy.
afterwards.
They invaded Sicily. They invaded Greece.
Yes.
Now let me. Yes.
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 But you invaded us
Yes.
afterwards.
No, thank you.
You invaded.
Thank you. Hallelujah. Thank you.
What's wrong?
So,
You scratch my
let's
back. I
be
scratch
clear.
yours.
During the Crusades, were we invading Muslim lands
You did.
or reclaiming our own?
Oh,
We were reclaiming our own
Oh,
lands.
you reclaim.
Lands that Muslims had
You
invaded. That's the truth of history.
Can the
And
Palestinians
if you
reclaim
think
their
anything
land?
different, you have been lied to, and you need to go and study your history
Can
some
the
more.
Palestinians reclaim their land?
Furthermore,
No.
Furthermore, his second historical error was that he said that the Romans liberated Spain.
It is.
No, you're wrong
Who
again.
liberated Spain?
You're wrong
Who
again.
liberated Spain?
Shut up a second, I'll correct
no,
you.
Don't say shut up.
So,
I'm an Englishman
So-
like you idiot.
the Romans
You don't use bad
had
language.
passed out of existence as a state in the west of Europe by the 4th century That's even before Islam started. You don't know your history.
No, I don't know. You know
The people that liberated Spain
What is your
were
problem
the
now?
Spanish Christians themselves,
Oh, so the Crusade.
supported
Very good.
by the wider Christian community of
Very
Europe.
good. So you admit.
Yes, I admit,
Good.
they liberated their
So
land
you-
from Islamic
Look.
occupation.
You invade,
Tell me.
You invade
I'll
us.
ask
We
you
invade
again.
you.
No, correction.
Simple as that.
You invaded us,
the
and we
British-
tried to
listen,
reclaim the land you
The
invaded.
British wouldn't
Get
leave-
it right.
Listen,
Get it
listen,
right.
Listen.
Get it right.
Listen.
No, you haven't listened the whole time I've been talking.
The French were
You've
in
been
Algeria
shouting
for
at me
150
the whole
years.
time I have been talking.
The French
No.
were in Algeria for
Ladies
150
and gentlemen,
years. You
I
are
asked
an
this guy a
invader.
question.
You are an invader.
And the question was this: how many lands can Muslims invade before Christians are allowed to legitimately fight back?
Well, no
He
fight
didn't
back.
answer the first
The
time.
Muslim took Spain.
Let's see
Took
if
Spain.
he will answer it this time.
No.
Your turn.
The Muslim
Yeah, go
took
on, because
Spain.
he's not listening.
Yeah.
Go on, what's
Answer
your
it,
question?
answer it if you can.
I'm asking you to make a distinction between Islam and history of the Muslims.
Okay, go on.
So we have Islam.
Yes.
The principles of Islam
Yes.
are the principles of Judaism, of Christianity.
Yes.
That is the principles of Abraham.
Yes.
So we have these principles. And we have the history of the Muslims. The history of the Muslims is not representing Islam in the past and now. Now Muslims are killing each other. They are not killing Christians. They are killing Muslims in Libya, in Egypt, in Lebanon, in Sudan, and so on.
And they're killing Christians in all of those same countries.
So at the same time, there
Just
is
notice you didn't
there is a
mention that.
distinction between Christianity and the history of the Christians. What the colonialism have done to Africa and Asia is not representing Christianity.
Can I reply?
Of course.
Okay. Uncle, you asked in a very civilized way, so allow me to reply in a very civilized way. I agree with you that there are good Muslims and that there are bad Muslims. And I agree with you that bad Muslims, like those that do suicide bombings, are not representative of Islam.
Yes.
I agree with you. However, the invasion of Christian lands, the occupation of Christian territories, and the subjugation of Christians under Sharia law is an injunction of the Quran. I'm going to show you my evidence. Allow me to show you my evidence. Allow me to show you. Sir, I did not interrupt you. Please pay me the same courtesy.
Okay.
Don't now, when you started so well,
No.
degrade yourself. Okay? So, you've already said that colonialism is not representative of Christianity. And I agree with you. Colonialism was not representative of Christianity. It was representative of nation states who had made a god out of money, power, and their own national identities. However, you cannot show me in the Bible a justification for colonialism. But I'm going to show you now a justification for fighting Christians in war. Listen carefully. Surah 9, ayah 29. Fight those who believe not in Allah, nor the last day, nor hold that forbidden which hath been forbidden by Allah and his Prophet, nor acknowledge the religion of truth. Listen to the next bit. Even if they are people of the book, which you know is a reference to me as a Christian, until they pay the jizya with willing submission and feel themselves subdued. That is what 1400 years of Islamic empires have meant for Christians.
In what context? In what context?
Well, I can read
In
you.
what context?
This is in Surah 9, sir.
In what context? Historic
So let's
context.
let's look at how he. Let's
By
look
that
at.
time, Muslims were defending themselves.
No, they weren't defending themselves. Sorry, when they invaded Visigoth Spain in the 7th century, right? Because you don't know, I am certain you don't know about Visigoth Spain. Visigoth Spain. I'm certain you don't know that.
Andalusia.
Right. One second.
Andalusia,
Right. Are we agreed that you don't know anything about Visigoth Spain in the 7th century? You know. Right. Please tell me. Please tell me. 1 second, sir. You don't know my question. Here's my question.
1492.
Here's my question. Here's my question. Please tell me what the Visigoth Christians of Spain did to Muslims to justify the Muslims invading Spain.
Okay. I have two answers.
I'll listen to both and then I'll correct it.
One answer, and I don't believe on it. They will say the people of Spain invited us to come, and I don't believe on this.
Neither do I. That's rubbish. That's such a rubbish.
These Muslims who invaded Spain, they are representing themselves as politicians, as soldiers, but they are not representing Islam.
Okay, that's fine. Right, that's fine. You're consistent. So we've agreed that the invasion of Spain was wrong.
May I add something to you?
Yeah, of course,
For
of course.
example, Egypt.
What?
Egypt. To invade Egypt.
So you agree they invaded a Christian land
No,
called
to
Egypt?
invade Egypt, which is a Christian country.
Thank you.
And to turn the indigenous people of Egypt to second-class citizens? No.
That's
it's
exactly
not
what they
Islam.
did.
This is what is going now.
No, that's what exactly happened.
I don't
Go
believe
and go.
on this.
Yeah, but you
This
don't
is
know.
history.
No,
It's not
yes, exactly, sir. It is my history. I am a Christian. I know Coptic Christians. I know their history. They were made second-class citizens under Islamic rule. Let me give you some examples of what Muslim rulers did to Christians. They said that Christians couldn't repair their churches without the Sultan's express permission. Which meant that many churches became unset. And this little boy seems to know his history because he says it's right.
Because
And
I'm the Muslim.
there you go. Because I'm the Muslim, I'm right. Poor guy. So, 1 second. 1 second. I'm talking to him. I'm talking to him. I'm talking to the uncle. Stop being rude. Do you notice? Do you notice all the time? All the time. All the time. All the time. No, 1 second. Christian Spain. It was invaded by Muslims. You've been lied to. Christian Egypt. Thank you. So let me ask you a question, because at least you seem to be willing to answer a question. Okay. So here's my question to you. The other guy didn't want to answer it. How many lands can Muslims invade before Christians can legitimately fight back?
How many countries you invaded?
Thank you. So the
today?
Crusades
Syria,
against
Iraq,
Islamic aggression were
Afghanistan,
legitimate,
all
weren't they?
this country.
What they did.
Okay.
Not everything they did. Some of the things they did were criminal. They were criminal and wrong. I'm not saying that the Crusades. Muslims are killing Christians in Sri Lanka. Muslims are killing Christians in Sudan. Muslims are killing Christians in Nigeria. Muslims are killing Christians in Serbia. Muslims are killing Christians in Syria. Muslims are killing Christians in Iraq. Muslims are killing Christians in Afghanistan. Muslims are killing Christians in Pakistan. Muslims are killing Christians in Lebanon. Muslims are killing Christians in Palestine. Muslims are killing Christians in Egypt. Muslims are killing Christians in Jordan. Muslims are killing Christians in Arabia. Muslims are killing Christians in Tunisia. Muslims are killing Christians in Algeria. Muslims are killing Christians in Morocco. Muslims are killing Christians in Chad. Muslims are killing Christians in... Yes, exactly. So before you lecture, you need to take that Islamic supremacism, you need to go find a private place, and you need to stick it in a place that the sun don't shine. Because I'm not here to be lectured by someone who's seeking to justify Islamic violence. No, sir.
For killing
So coming back to your point,
You know
back
this
to
very
Visigoth
well.
Spain.
This is the political history of the Muslims.
Yes.
I am defending Islam. I'm not defending the Muslims.
So,
do you know Saudi Arabia?
Let me.
Do you think Saudi Arabia is a
I'm from
representative?
Saudi Arabia.
Let me just.
No
1 second, sir. Let's stay. Let's stay on topic. We've already
Saudi
established.
Arabia.
We've already
I'm a
established
Muslim.
that Muslims invaded lands that were not their own.
Yes.
Now, those Muslim invaders, when they were seeking to justify their behavior, what kind of verses were they quoting?
No.
I'll tell you. They were quoting
they are
this
not
one.
abiding
It's all
by
over.
Quran.
Right. So explain to me.
No, not
Sir, explain to me.
They are not quoting the Quran.
Explain to me how Muslims for 1400 years managed to misinterpret their faith, but you, I mean, the collective Muslim community over 1400 years managed to get Islam wrong, but you stood here today in Hyde Park are suddenly in a place to say they were all wrong.
May I answer to you?
Yes, please.
We have our political history and cultural history.
So, go on.
Okay. The positive side of our history is the history of literature, architecture,
Invasion, persecution,
Christians are bad.
dimitude, apostasy laws.
What?
You're being rude to your elder. You're being rude to your elder.
So,
Go on, sir.
the positive side is the history
Save it.
of culture, of Muslim culture, of literature. You see, of laws. But this,
Who keeps coming back and having a go? Don't lecture me about aggression. I am not your dhimmi, sir. I am not your dhimmi. I am not your dhimmi. God willing, Sharia law will collapse, and you'll see the gospel in Mecca, and you'll see cathedrals in Saudi Arabia.
those who invaded Spain are Muslims.
Yes.
And they are representing themselves.
I get your point.
They are not representing Islam. I'm defending Islam.
It starts young, guys.
No, I'm defending Islam.
So, sir, I understand you're
Islam
defending
is
Islam.
unity.
I understand.
For peace.
Oh, it's not at all.
Justice.
It's not at all.
Freedom.
Well, tell that to the ancient Christians because they didn't experience that. So let me ask you. I've just told you what they experienced.
Islam or Muslims.
So let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this question. Right? I have on one hand a gentleman standing before me talking about peace and getting along and tolerance. And I applaud you for it. I salute you for it. I'll shake your hand. Go have a cup of tea. Let's be friends, right? But on the other hand, I have 1400 years of countless generations of Muslims in multiple different lands invading countries that were not their own, and having scholars justify it through 1400 years. If our roles were reversed, who would you believe? The 1400 years of history with all the evidence that was used to justify multiple invasions, or the lovely gentleman in front of you? If you were stood in my place listening to you, who would you believe?
I'll believe you.
Do you see my point? Do you see why I can't believe you?
Yes. I am from Sudan.
What did the Sudanese government do to the Christians of South Sudan?
They do it to me. Do you see it?
God bless you, sir. Yeah. But tell to the camera, what did they do to the Christians of South Sudan?
They did what?
If you don't tell the history, I'll tell the history.
Okay, I'm from Sudan.
Yes.
The land of the Nile. When the Muslims came and invaded
Christian land.
Our land.
Which was Christian.
We defended it.
Yes.
And then we peacefully transformed to Islam, and we became Muslims. So we know this experience of Spain, and we know our own experience that we accepted Islam and established our own culture, make this
synthesis
with our heritage.
Yeah.
So we are Muslims. Our land hasn't been invaded.
No, your land was invaded.
Yes.
You just said that.
We accepted Islam.
Yeah, because
Right.
Peacefully.
No, 1 second.
Peacefully.
1 second. There is a difference between accepting Islam peacefully and accepting Islam under pressure.
Of course.
And what actually happened to the Namibians, which is your people,
Yes.
is that they had laws imposed upon them
Yes.
that made it advantageous to become Muslim
Yes.
and disadvantageous to remain Christian.
Yes.
Which is what,
Christians
thank
are
you, he admitted
bad.
He admitted.
it. Yes,
It
you admitted
happened
it.
in Egypt.
Yes, it happened in Egypt.
Christians.
Thank you. He admitted it.
Yes.
So, that is not some friendly conversion where you saw the light. That is a sociological pressure that leads to conversion. What happened in South Sudan is what the Muslims had started when they invaded North Sudan. They wanted to impose Islam on the south. They wanted to Arabize the people in the south. And the Christians of South Sudan, and I know Christians from South Sudan, they took up arms against. And they fought a civil war for 18 years in which, yet again, another Islamic-inspired government invaded lands that were not their own and sought to impose Islam on people that didn't want it. 1 second. They killed 2 million Christians and animalists.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
2 million, a genocide.
Yes.
Yeah?
That's
They
the best.
undertook to remove the Namibian heritage. Like when they built the dam and the backwash was going to flood all those Namibian villages.
Yes.
Is that a lie or the truth?
Yes.
It's the truth, isn't it?
It is the truth.
And I'll tell you why I know it's the
Committed
truth.
by Muslims against Muslims.
I will tell you why it's the truth.
Yes.
It's because I have been friends with refugees from Sudan, Muslims
Yes.
from Sudan.
Yes.
I got no problem with Muslims like you.
Yeah.
But I've got a problem with a religion that legitimizes the subjugation of my people. And it says literally, with willing submission and feel themselves subdued. The words subdued and subjugation come from the same root.
Yes.
You can translate that Arabic word to humiliate.
Yes.
Now tell me,
Yes.
do you want to believe in a book that tells you that other human beings should be humiliated and subjugated?
No.
But
Good, you should become a Christian then.
you have
No.
taken this item
No.
out of the
I
context.
want to stay a Muslim.
This have a historical context.
Yes.
It has been said by God for the Muslims to defend themselves in Medina and Mecca.
Medina and Mecca. I'm from Medina.
So it is not Islam. In Islam, there are many ayats, many verses which say you ask people to become Muslims.
No, it doesn't just say that though, does it?
No,
I accept.
تذكر إنما أنت مذكر
Sir,
لست عليهم بمسيطر.
sir, let me be clear because I think you're missing my point.
Yes.
I am not under the impression that Muslims stuck a dagger
Yes.
to Christians and said, become a Muslim or we'll kill you.
Yes.
Though there are examples of that in Islamic history, I don't ascribe that to Islam. There are examples of that in history. Muslims did do that, but I don't ascribe that to Islam because I recognize that Islam doesn't teach put a dagger to someone's throat and compel
Islam is
them
the
to become
best.
Muslim. Right?
Islam
However,
is better than
Islam
Christians.
turns Christians into second-class citizens where it
Not
becomes...
Islam, Muslims.
No, Islam.
No.
Islam. Islam does that. Islam does that. In which it becomes advantageous to become Muslim, but disadvantageous to remain Christian.
Yes.
That is what is more commonly known as apartheid system. South Africans did that to black people in South Africa.
And this is representing
And the main advantage is heaven.
No, of course it's not.
Okay.
But Islam has done that to
Not
Christians
Islam,
for 1400 years. Look. I'll read it to you again.
The big
I'll read it to you again.
Jannah.
Yeah? Fight those who believe not in Allah, nor the last day, nor hold that forbidden which hath been forbidden by Allah and his Prophet. In other words, you're fighting them because they don't believe,
Okay.
nor acknowledge the religion of truth, even if they are people of the book. So you're commanded to fight people of the book because they don't believe, until they pay the jizya with willing submission and feel themselves subdued or subjugated. Now, the laws that Christians are put under when they are subjugated are laws like this. Let me give you an example. Does this sound like equality to you? A Muslim man can marry a Christian woman, but a Christian man can't marry a Muslim woman.
No, can
Is that
marry.
equality?
No, can marry.
What?
Can marry.
No, that's a lie.
Not can marry.
That is not
What
correct.
is going on in
Sharia law.
Nigeria and
Sharia law doesn't
Ethiopia?
teach that. If you don't know Sharia law, guys, this debate's
In
not going to go.
Nigeria,
How many
Ethiopia.
Sharia laws are there?
In Nigeria.
Exactly. How many Sharia laws are there?
In Nigeria and Ethiopia.
Everyone has their own
This is what is going
interpretation
now.
of a Sharia law.
So Sharia law is not some perfect
not
system,
Islam.
is it?
It's not Islam.
Exactly.
No.
I agree. It's
No,
not a
it's not.
perfect system.
Okay, Sharia law on the
Some
side of the
law-
Prophet.
Anyway,
Some
Bro.
lawmakers.
are you going?
It's not perfect, but
All right.
Okay.
Can I
it's
say-
the best.
take a hand as
Are you
well?
going, Uncle?
Okay.
You have a
Nice
great
to
day.
meet you.
Have a nice day.
You said something now about the dagger thing, and honestly, like,
Switch
I
the light
think you're a
on when you're
genuine
reading your
person.
book.
I am a genuine person.
I know you are.
My criticism is of Islam.
I know, and that's fine. You know what? Earlier, I think you mentioned a point about why attack Islam. I think attack's a harsh word, first of all.
and criticism of any religion is fine. And if anyone else comes and attacks a religion, I think that's wrong.
So you're going to go and lecture the Muslims, right?
I don't. You think I agree with any of these
Honestly,
guys?
until...
No, you don't know me.
No, I don't know you. I don't know you.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is the fact that, like, you have good logical discussions. I've watched your discussions, and I think every religion should be spoken, or any ideology or thought should be spoken the way you do. It's based on text. If you show me that the Quran said something like this, and everyone's like, whoa, how can you say that? I'll be like, why is everyone surprised? Because the Quran says it. But then someone has to come back and explain it or something. Yeah? But can I say something? You know, earlier you were talking about the وَالَّذِينَ قَاتَلُوا and وَالَّذِينَ قُتِلُوا. I mean, I can read Arabic. Can I see that? Because honestly, you're teaching me something new.
That's fine. One
Go
second.
back to your doctor, get your money back, please.
You agree they are different words?
الَّذِينَ قَاتَلُوا وَالَّذِينَ قُتِلُوا are different words. قَاتَلُوا means the ones that fought, and قُتِلُوا means the ones that got killed in fighting.
Thank you.
No, they were killed, not in fighting. But
1 second, I've just lost it. Sorry. It's going to take... Sorry, I've lost it, so you'll just have to find it again.
Because I know that in Arabic there's different writings, and there's different narrators of the Quran. But there is no actual difference. The only difference could be in the writing. We call it the khat. I've just learned that, by the way, just to come and counter your argument.
You've literally just learnt it. Right, 1 second.
All right, Bob, catch you later, yeah?
Yeah, peace with you, bro. I do apologise about this.
What chapter is it in?
1 second.
Chapter 3?
Right, here it is. Here's the English, here's the Arabic.
Okay.
Right, is the word kutalu there?
But that's not the Quran. I'm trying to say.
No, that is not my question.
No,
wait.
If you ask me, is the word qutilu there? I'll say yes. Qutilu is there.
The word.
But if you ask me, is that the Quran? I'll tell you no. Show me the Quran.
Right, 1 second. Read that one. Qatalu. So is the word qatalu there?
1 second.
Answer the question.
Yeah, the word qatalu is there. Let's
Thank
establish
you.
that.
Right,
Okay.
now make your point and then I'll address it.
Okay, so you've showed me 2 pictures of 2 Arabic texts.
Yep.
Okay, that are different.
Yes.
But can you show me that there are 2 Qurans that are different?
Yes.
Because that's 2 photos, which I have no clue where they are from. If they have, because you know how many times those words are used in the Quran? More than once.
Yep.
So they can be from different parts of the Quran. I wouldn't know.
They're
So
from Surah 47, Ayah 4, just
Surah
for your record.
47, Ayah 4.
Maybe just Google it.
Yeah,
Surah 47, Ayah 4, Hafs version, Wash version. See what comes up. But here's the thing, bro.
Yeah.
If I am proven correct, when you go away,
Ayah 34. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
When Ayah 4. Yeah. Which version are you using of the Quran? Is this the Hafs?
Yeah.
This is probably the Hafs because that's the version that most Muslims use.
That's it.
So what does it say?
الذين قتلوا في سبيل الله.
Yeah. Right. So now what you need to do is get the same ayah in a wash Quran and compare. Surah 47, ayah 4. But if you find, when you research it, that I'm not lying to you, that I'm not making things up because I'm bitter or angry. Right, 1 second.
I don't think that.
If when you investigate it, if you find that I'm right, then you need to ask yourself, what are the implications of this finding?
Of course, that's what I just did, and I went and I learned something.
Right.
So, going to take that. Probably the best way to do it.
Is it a wash?
Yeah.
Where does it say wash? Oh, yes. Surah 47, ayah 4.
This was 5G.
If only. Like, guy, we've honestly got nothing to gain by lying.
Yeah, no. But you know what it is at the same time? I think the best way for you to approach this is someone educated like yourself, like in religion really deeply, that has a strong background knowledge in Arabic. Like, because when I spoke to someone just now, they said that the words are, the khat may be different, but the pronunciation, you never pronounce it differently.
Right, so you're not reading them?
No, you are, but apparently it's like the khat is different, but the word can be read in the same way. So when you say qatalu and qutilu, see, that's why I have to go and
Yeah, but this is my point, bro. Muslims are told that the Qurans are identical. I am evidencing the fact that that is a lie. If the Qurans are not identical, the idea that all the Qurans are the same is also a lie. And if that is also a lie, it means the Quran is wrong where it says none can change the words of Allah.
But if you go ask any Quranic scholar, they'll give you the same pronunciation of that word.
That's not, if they're not reading the text.
No, but they can explain that to you. That's what I'm saying.
Look, I can hear as many excuses as you want to give.
Yeah.
But at the bottom line, the texts are different, the words are different, the meaning is different. You've got different Qurans, which means that not all the Qurans are the same, which means that you've got to choose which Quran's the original, which means that someone changed the words of Allah. And Allah says no one can change the words of Allah, so the Quran is wrong. So Islam is not true, which means you need to leave Islam and you need to come to a better religion.
And no religion makes more sense than Islam.
Well, I'm afraid if you think Islam makes sense, you've got a lot to talk about.
It does. But there's different versions of Islam, you know that.
Which version are you? What, sorry?
Jafari.
Jafari, is that one of the schools of Sunni jurisprudence? What's Jafari, sorry?
It's from the Shia school of thought.
So it's a Shia thing. Okay.
But to be honest, it doesn't matter. I mean, the only thing is just when it comes to the study of the religion and interpretation.
I find that Shias are altogether much more pleasant than their Sunni counterparts.
Not all Sunnis as well. I wouldn't group them all together.
Certainly here in the park. In the park, Shias are so much more pleasant than Sunnis.
His Sunni is different. Yes, he's Sunni.
Yeah, but he's not a regular in the park, you know?
In the park is a different thing. I think some people do it like...
Have we got Surah 47
I'm actually
ayah 4?
reading something about this and...
Yeah, have we got Surah 47 ayah 4?
See, this app isn't the best app that I downloaded.
What? Are you in like Surah 6?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, dude, you're going to...
It's not the best.
I'll tell you what, bro. Let's just do a 2 thought experiments to save you time.
Yeah.
All right? 2 thought experiments. Thought experiment number 1. You find the passage and the words are actually the same.
Surah 47 verse 4 you said?
Yeah. So we're going to do a thought experiment where you find the passage in the wash and it's the same as that in the Hafs.
Yeah.
What conclusions can you legitimately draw from that?
So that you're saying that they're different, or sorry?
No, in this particular thought experiment, you eventually find the passage and the words are the same.
Yeah.
I have to wash match.
Yeah.
What legitimate conclusions can you draw from that?
That basically, because there is more than one person who's narrated the Quran, right? And I think there's 7 if I'm not wrong. But so if at the end of the day, you always. If you find, like, if I find in the Quran lots of mistakes or something, like this, it's the same word if you realize, really. But can I explain? They have the same source of origin, the words.
But it's not the same.
No, no, it is, but I'll just explain what I mean.
Okay.
The source of the word comes from the same origin. So if I say killed or
fought.
So qatalu and qutilu come from the same source word. So
but they're not the same.
Their ancestral word is the same.
But they're not the same, are they?
Yeah, but I mean...
Are they the same?
No, the words are not the same. But are they the same in the Quran? I mean, but then if they're not the same, then it could be a mistake. But when the whole consensus that the word has one pronunciation, and this is my point, is that's where, if they are different, that's where if there's a whole consensus that the words are the same pronunciation, then they are the same word, and there's a mistake in the writing.
Right. So just think through logically what we're saying. Yeah. Right. I am disproving, quite successfully today, that they believe.
I have a question. This, what do you call it? Multiculturalism is good or bad?
You shouldn't have left Europe then.
It was a good idea. It was a good idea.
So if it was all white, it was good.
Wait.
That's my point.
Content over everything. From now to Benjamin.
man say it straight. Man don't listen to BBC. Man don't listen to ITV.
Wait. You're trying to ask a question that has such a big connotation to it. Right? Us as English people, our descendants, thought it was a good idea. We thought we could all live together. Yeah? Now, we've created a Frankenstein that is realising that idea